The opinions and views expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Community Media of Staten Island. The Get Together is brought to you in cooperation with the Older Adult Center Networks and the Center for Lifelong Development, with funding provided by the New York City Department of Aging, and produced through the facilities of Community Media of Staten Island.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Together. I am Beth Carroll, and I will be hosting today's episode, which is about people in our lives who influenced us, changed our lives, or had a vital impact on our lives. And here we have three of my friends who agreed to be guests and panelists. And this is Mona, Carrie, and Joe. And they all agreed to tell their stories. Mona, you want to start?
Fine. I am, without doubt, most influenced by a woman named Taffy. Taffy was the owner of a dance studio in Bay Ridge. But I knew her when she, her husband, and their three children performed at the hotels up in the Catskill Mountains. We shared a cottage together for a summer. And Taffy influenced me from the start. She made me aware of the arts. She made me aware of the excitement of learning to dance. And dance has become an integral part of my life. I, at this point in my life, am a performer, and I am also a person of spirit, and I learned that from Taffy also. She was very quick to help people. And even when I started looking her up on the internet, 50 years after the studio closed, there are people still discussing their learning and their relationship with her.
That's very nice, very impressive. Okay, Carrie, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, my BFF Paula. Okay, she was my guardian angel. In 2012, my wife passed away. All right, and 2012 was a very bad year in June. And then in August, okay, my cousin, who was like my brother when we were younger, all right, he fell through his attic and he died. And the next day, okay, his mother, my aunt, passed away. So I was like a basket case. Okay, and my friend Paula, she did everything. She helped me. I started going to a therapist she recommended. Okay, and I spoke to a therapist for a while. Then I went to a bereavement group, and I was with a bereavement group for a while, and and then we started calling each other, and we started going to the gym together, and we went to the movies, and we went out to eat, and it was like, we would talk to each other every night, and I don't know where I would be without her. She was like a very big influencer in my life.
You managed to take tragedy and turn it into triumph, and that's very commendable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paula seems like a nice person.
Yeah, she was real. Yeah, she was. She's great, and we get along really, really well, and it's been a big influence in my life now. She was the one who said to me to think about starting to come to the JCC. All right, but I said, but I can't. What do you call it? I have no way to get there. And well, she said, why don't you find out if they have transportation? I could have been coming to the JCC for a much longer period of time. Okay, and I just didn't. But thank God I have her, and
A friend in need is a friend in need.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, Joe?
Okay, my story starts a long time ago when I was a young kid. 14, 15 years old. Every time in the class where you had to go up in front of the class and do a speech, or you had to do an oral presentation, I was so frightened to do it that the first words that came out of my mouth was stuttering, stammering, and the kids would laugh. And so I did everything in my power not to go, not to attend the class, get sick that particular day, because I was deathly afraid of doing it. So time moved on. I went into the Army. I came out. And then I wanted to continue serving, so I joined an Army Reserve unit. So I'm in the Army Reserve unit, and it was a training outfit. And what we did is we went down on inspections, and we trained one-on-one with individual soldiers. And so because I liked what I did, I would volunteer for different schools. I went to a supply school, logistics school. I went to a NCO school, warrant officer school in Wisconsin. So anyway, one day the commander, Lieutenant Colonel, he wanted a volunteer to attend NBC school, Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Warfare. So my hand goes up, and it wasn't too far. I went down to Fort Dix, and 3 weeks, I think it was, and I attended the class. And it taught how to protect an individual soldier from biological and chemical warfare by using a protective mask. How to don it, how to clear it, how to put a hood on top of it, just in case you're in that situation to protect yourself. So, come back from the school, and the Lieutenant Colonel calls me in his office, and he says, "Sergeant, you're going to teach now, you're going to give a class to the individual people in our unit and show them what you learned." So as I'm standing there, the feeling of a 15-year-old all comes back. Because I had to go in front of a class, and there was no way I can tell him no. And there was no way I can give him an excuse. So I go home, and I make my lesson plan, and the next morning or a week later, I come in, and this class is packed. Because the Lieutenant Colonel said everybody's got to attend, I had people in there from major to private. And so now I walk up to the podium, and the feeling is the same as it was a long time ago. So first words out of my mouth was like stuttering, but I couldn't think about my fear and think about what I had to tell them. So I just started to tell them what I was supposed to tell them. And so the class went on, and it was easy. And then I gave it again in the afternoon. It got easier, and again and again. And every time I did it, I made changes, and I did it. So
It's funny you were talking about stuttering, okay? I was a stutterer from the time I was a kid. I could hardly get 3 or 4 words out without stuttering. Right, in school they used to pass over me, all right, or whatever, okay? And I mean,
you understand.
And I went to different speech classes, and yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
So now I come.
On that note, I'm sure people have noticed I have essential tremor, and my voice shakes naturally. And I thought to myself, that's it, I can't talk to anybody. They're going to think, something terrible. But then I heard and saw Katharine Hepburn. And Katharine Hepburn had essential tremor and performed into her late years. So she was an influence when I needed it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. About Taffy, I didn't finish telling you. What made me know how important her influence was, we were in the mountains. We were in a place called Fallsburg,
Yep, I've been there.
which is named for the deep falls.
Yeah.
I went into the water. I thought it'd be a fun place to swim. The current was taking me to the falls. Taffy was there. Yeah.
So
I knew she meant she was there for a reason. She,
Okay.
yeah, she helped me survive.
So
Yes.
to finish my story,
Yeah.
to make it short,
You can
I
try and
came
wrap it
back.
up now.
I came back,
Try to wrap it up.
and I trained each and every individual to fit them to their individual protective mask. Okay, so for that, I was given the Army Commendation Medal.
That's very nice, very commendable.
Okay, and in fact, what it says in so many words, for my leadership, unparalleled dedication, outstanding performance of the duty in keeping with the finest military tradition, reflects credit upon himself, this command, and the United States Army Reserve. Now, I'm very proud of this.
That must have made you feel pretty good.
Yes, but,
Yeah.
but what happened was even more proud. What happened during this period of time, Desert Storm came up. And our unit deployed, and we had to go to Fort Dix for training, because that's what we did. Okay?
Yeah.
So some of the members of the unit, how to train individuals on their firearms. And then another couple actually went to Desert Storm. They went to Desert Storm as truck drivers and
excuse
whatever.
Me, it's about, the show is about to end, and I know, I really am interested, but maybe in the next segment you could continue to talk about that.
Okay.
I mean, you will manage to take.
She's cutting you off, in other words.
You will manage to
Okay.
take tragedy and turn it into triumph. And I want to thank everyone for watching our show, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And there are some things I want to mention. Take nobody for granted, and everybody is special and valuable, and we are all students and teachers of each other. So all of you have a great and blessed day. Shalom, peace, mazel tov. God bless you all. We will be back with more.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the second half of the Get Together. I'm Reuben Warren. As you can see, I've taken the place of Beth Carroll here to my right. And we're going to continue speaking about significant people that influenced us during the course of our lives. The last segment, we ended with Joe, and he was in the middle of conversation, and I think that's where we're going to pick up.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So what I was saying, when the unit got deployed to Fort Dix, some of us took care of the training, but there was a number of guys that got sent there. We sent truck mechanics, and we sent transportation, truck drivers. And so what happened during Desert Storm, if you remember or not, the enemy decided to fire all the oil fields. They burned all the oil fields. And all that toxic smoke, black smoke and chemicals was in the air. But not a problem for the guys that I trained, because all they did was take out their protective mask and put it on, and every single one of them came back safe and sound. And from that, you know, I was more proud than this. And so what happened after that, I became the Toastmaster of the family. Every New Year's Eve, when the ball dropped, and there was 20 members of the family there, I got up in front of the table or in front of the room and gave the toast for the new year. And my point is because of that lieutenant colonel who made me step up to my fear and overcome it, I became a better person. And I helped those soldiers in their difficult times to get back home. And I am forever grateful for that person for what he did. And now I became the Toastmaster. Even to give you, someone passes away, I was in the church when my mom passed away, and I gave the eulogy for my mom. So all around, this is nice, and I love this, but it made me be a better person in life. And I appreciate that Lieutenant Colonel, wherever he is, for helping me through it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you've ever been in touch with him now.
Well, he was a lot older than me, Ruben, so I don't know if he's still standing, but I forever will be grateful for what he did.
You turned a negative into a positive.
Oh,
You had a
absolutely.
problem, and then you helped other people with your problem.
Yes, it just
That's very great. That's
Yeah,
very
it's,
good.
it's snowballed.
Good. Okay.
Andrea?
Yes, as far as people, I've been racking my brain to try to come up with someone who could fit the criteria. And the first people I thought of was my parents, my mom, Sylvia, my father, Bernard, and how I'm a little bit like them in many facets. Some of my interests in life, I'm a big sports fan like my father was, and I also like to go to Broadway shows like my mother does or did. And things that they did, and also I saw things in them that I did not want to be. My mom was always, in the times, a housewife in the 1950s, washing the dishes, getting the kids off to school, and that's what I saw. I mean, when I was 16, she did have a part-time job as a bookkeeper, but I said, oh, I'm not going to be a drudge housewife, I'm going to do other things. And the women's movement came along, and I did work. I worked for the city, I had a good 40-year career, I worked in the data processing area. I did training in my job, taught people Word and Excel and PowerPoint. So I did a lot of things. I traveled, but my father liked to travel. He did a lot of different things. And then as you go through life, you see different teachers, different coworkers, different friends, and they influence you in different ways. So it's the people that you really come in contact with, the things that you do. And then I had other things that I did that was more private. I was more of a private person. I was not always gregarious going with friends. So my favorite times was when I was by myself. I'd like to read. I would read different books. And that's kind of what influenced me. I knew how to deal with the public. And one thing I've been accused of that's been a regret is I never had much of a sense of humor. I've been accused of having no sense of humor. And maybe that's because my dad had different bouts of depression in his life. Didn't come from a household where people were always telling jokes and it was more a quiet time. But that's me, and I make the most of who I am.
You know, it's interesting you're talking about your parents, because I'm sure we can all relate to the fact that growing up, the people that we don't want to emulate are usually our parents, right? We're very critical of our parents when we're growing up. You know, I remember in my house we had a sign on one of the doors. I don't remember, probably my mother or father must have put it up, but the sign said, "Teenagers are people who one day will grow up to be as stupid as their parents." And yet, you know, as we get older, we realize how much in common we've become somewhat of, you know, our parents.
And a child's view is often very different from what you would get. My father worked in the garment center, and it wasn't until I was older that I found out that he never graduated high school. And my mom had a couple of years of college and then went on to work as a bookkeeper. So it's really very different, very interesting. And I had 2 siblings, and they're very different from me.
Which isn't all that unusual.
No, not at all.
Right?
Well, even the music that we grew up with. I remember our parents, they didn't like the music that we were listening to, or the styles, or the dress, or the hair that we had. And now I don't particularly like some of the music that I'm hearing from some of the young kids. You know, you sort of do become like them in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to leave Beth Carroll for last. And I was racking my brains out trying to come up with, you know, somebody who impacted me. What I found during my lifetime is that a lot of the negative things that happened, you know, the bad things, I tend to block out, which I realize a lot of us do. But back in 2013, I was going through a really rough patch in my life. My wife had been ill for the past 10 years prior, and she passed away. And what I found is that when you're dealing with an illness over time, a lot of your friends tend to disappear. I don't know why that is. I'm sure that there's been a lot of psychological analysis done about it, but I found that a lot of close friends that I had just, for whatever reason, disappeared. And somebody that I knew at the time invited me out to breakfast. This was in 2013, and there were 4 of us at breakfast. It happened to have been a Friday, and after breakfast, Rich came over to me. He says, "You know, I know what you've been going through, but I just want you to know that this group of people here, we will always, you know, be your friend. And don't worry about what happened in the past. Let's just go forward." And that did a lot for me at that particular point in time. And the interesting thing is that this happened in some point in 2013, and we have been going to breakfast every Friday since 2013. Wow. The only stop, you know, being COVID. So I have Rich to thank for that. Unfortunately, Rich passed away a couple of years ago, but I owe him a really big debt of gratitude for getting me out of the depression that I was in at that time, and forming you know, new relationships with a new group of people. It really meant a lot to me, and that was my and I realized that even to this day, it means a lot getting together every Friday.
And
for
especially at our age, with friends, with different things that we do, people are not going to be around forever. Opportunities and classes aren't going to be around forever. So we have to kind of recycle and help other people, and then see what comes back to us. Right. Very important.
You're right. And, you know, along that line, over the years, I have invited other people, you know, into this circle of breakfast, you know, breakfast group that we have, because I felt that they needed to have other people around them, because, you know, because they may have been going through something, you know, in their own life at that point. Beth Carroll.
Okay. Well, the person that influenced me, it's kind of unusual. It's my brother, who's mentally challenged, and he's in a group home. And even though he's cognitively and intellectually deficient, he has taught me and everybody patience and tolerance, and that everybody counts and everybody is valuable. And you learn from everybody and everybody could learn from you. I mean, maybe he can't read and write, and he needs to be in an environment that'll help him. And he is now. And my mother always said that his good looks, his nice, sweet, loving nature makes up for his mentally challenged issues. And there was a time when I wasn't very nice to him, but everybody says I'm a good sister because I used to take him every place, and our father would take him every place, even he wasn't ashamed of my brother. And it's hard, with somebody that's mentally handicapped, but we're all alike in a lot of ways, but our differences are subtle and marvelous, and we have to appreciate them. And he taught all that, and a lot of people don't think about people like my brother doing something like that, but he did. He was a positive impact, vital part of my life. And, I was never ashamed of him or anything, because I knew he was different in some ways, but I'm not ashamed. I take him everywhere. I used to anyway. He's in the group home, and you could learn from anybody. Every man and woman is my superior, whom I could learn from. Anyone here of Archie Bunker, and that's something that some mentally slow man told him, that he could learn from other people, and people could learn from him. So
What
that's
is the
about
age difference
what age difference?
between you and your brother, and who's
3
older?
years. I'm older in 3 years, and he really changed a lot of things in me. I didn't think anybody like my brother. A lot of people think my brother, like, he's just a burden on society, and he's not. He's part of society. He's valuable, just like everybody else. And I'm very glad and proud to be his sister. Everybody says I'm a good sister, and I'm glad to be his sister, okay?
I think your brother would be very proud of what you just said.
Okay.
And I think that, what some of the points that you made are very important lessons for most of us, that, the way we look at other people may not be the correct way, that we're all human beings and we should be treated accordingly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly.
That's right.
Anyway, I want to thank everybody for being on the panel today, including those people that were on the first segment. And hopefully our audience has learned some important lessons from this discussion. I want to thank the panel for being here today. We've learned some very important lessons. And till next time, this is the Get Together, and have a good day.